Hey guys, Rob at Legion Studio here. Well, today I'm very excited. We're going to be doing a snow table series for Battle of the Bulge. As you know, I own Legion's Hobbies and Games here in Pittsburgh, and Warlord Games is releasing the Battle of the Bulge campaign book, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to reward our players with a really nice 4x8 scenic table with a few terrain elements built into it. Most of the terrain is going to be modular, which we can do in some additional series, but I thought take this opportunity to show you guys how we do some of the tables around here, especially the more scenic ones. This will be a multi-part series from the construction of the table itself all the way to completion. So I hope you really enjoy it, and let's get started with part one. Okay, we're ready to get started. So before we begin, I'd like to explain a little bit about what I have planned for this table, and especially during the foundation area, the beginning steps. In the past, here at the store, I've used 2-inch extruded polystyrene insulation foam, and this has really served us well. However, with this table, I want to go a little bit of a different direction because it's first off, it's an 8-foot table, so it's a lot more stress on the edges. The most important thing is I'm trying to really give the tables some life. We've been here at Legion's Games for 10 years now, and our tables are starting to show some wear on the edges. And the reason is because there's nothing protecting these sides. So if you are, it's nice that they're lightweight, but when you are here and you're leaning over, belts are hitting it. It just after a while, especially with the pink foam like you get here at a US store called Home Depot, it really starts to show through the scenics. So what I've decided to do, and I have been doing for the last few tables, is I am going with another approach. The other thing is this foam in US dollars is now close to $40 a sheet. So I can do this whole table a lot stronger for actually a little bit less or right around the same price. And that's just core building materials. So what we're going to be using is a half-inch extruded polystyrene foam. And what we're going to do, this is 3/8-inch plywood below. This 3/8-inch plywood you can get for right around $10, maybe just a little bit more. And this foam here is right around $12 or so. So, we're already ahead. And before we mount it, I'm going to frame in the edge of the plywood. So let me move this out of the way again. Get the foam going out of the way. And what we're going to do is, this is 2x2s. These are like $2 a piece, these studs. So what we're going to do is we're going to frame this in. We're going to screw these into the plywood, and I'm going to create a frame. I'm going to cut around, and I'll be noting the sizes for you here, also in the notes on the YouTube video and on my legionstudios.com page. I'll have a little bit of a instructions and building materials and a little bit of photos of what we do. And we're going to frame this in and build a nice solid structure for this to sit on. The final step for what I want to do after the table is finished, I'm going to frame this in with some nice, better quality pine, and then paint it black, and it'll just give the table a nice clean look. So let's get started. Let's get this mounted up and move on to the next step. Okay, so we have the wood cut, and what I've done here is on the plywood, we have the 8-foot 2x. These boards here were cut at 43 inches, and what I've done is I've spaced them 32 inches off center. It's not so important because we're screwing in from this side, but if you were doing reverse and coming in from the plywood, it would allow you to find a good chalk line and to get a good area so you can get the screws in blindly. But it's not such a big issue with this because I'm going to be actually putting them in this way. The screws I am using are 2-inch exterior screws. You could use drywall screws, it really doesn't matter. 2-inch is real close. It's very hard to find. It like goes from too short to just a little bit too long. And when I say too long, these are like a millimeter. I mean, they're not much, but there might be a couple points, especially if I get a good grip into that and it goes into the wood a little bit. But that's not going to be a big deal because the foam is going to be on the other side. And it's 1/2 inch foam and there won't be any problem with it coming through that for sure. So I'm going to get started on screwing these down and let's get started. Okay, so we're framed in, and the next step, we're going to flip this over and start to put down the foam on top of the plywood. Okay, so the board's flipped over and we have a great surface. Everything looks good. I didn't even have to put any more screws on the top, so everything looks really solid. So the next step is we're going to use this Titebond 2. Really, any wood glue is going to work. This is just, I've just been using this for a long time and it's always served me well. Some other products you could use, liquid nails I've had good success with in the past. So you could put some liquid nail down. It won't eat the foam, and put this down. Liquid nail does have a little bit of a faster cure time, so if you're trying to move your project on a little quicker, I still recommend overnight curing on any of this, because you don't want to be in the middle of your project and your foam slip, especially when you start working on hills and you get everything smoothed down really well. So what we're going to do is 2 parts on this. I'm going to actually get a little bit extra in a bowl here, just an old, whatever type of container you're going to use. And then actually from here, I'm just going to start putting some down on the table. Just kind of working it around, just kind of getting it on each side. The most important thing you want to do is make sure your edges have a really good amount of glue, so you get a grip. Because if the edges start to come up, you're going to run into a lot of problems. So I'm going to continue to spread this around. And with the brush, what we're going to do is just kind of spread this and make sure the board doesn't absolutely have to be totally covered. It can have some areas where there's nothing there, as long as you don't have an area of maybe 6 or 8 square inches that don't have any foam. Really the corners, even a good zigzag pattern, is going to work really well. Absolutely go all the way to the edge. Make sure you get a really good seal on this. So I'm going to continue on with this and get the covering on it, and then we'll put the foam on, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the glue coverage looks good, and we're going to lay the foam up on top, and then we're going to put some weight on it and let it dry. Okay, so we have weight distributed across the board, and we're going to let this cure overnight. And when we come back, I want to take a look at it, make sure there's no other areas that are popped up that we have to repair, but for the most part, this will dry and be very solid. Okay, so we have the foam mounted to the plywood with the foundation built, and we're getting to the end of part 1 here. Part 2, you'll see when we come back, I will be drawing in some of the elements that are going to be permanent fixtures on the table. And because this is an 8-foot table and most of the games are played usually on a 4x6, I'm thinking I may on one end do a river. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to be playing it out this evening. But as you can see, this table is very sturdy, and it's not going to take the damage of people leaning against it, especially when I get the trim all the way around it. So stay tuned. I'm going to have a little bit of a teaser of what's coming up in the next parts. And thanks for joining me, guys. And also make sure you subscribe to my channel and keep updated, so you're updated on especially the continuation of this project. But I have a lot of things planned over the next coming part of the year. And let's talk about some of the things coming up in part 2. Okay, so we're at the end of part 1, and I just want to go over a little bit of what I have planned, kind of a teaser of some of the other parts to this series. Again, the table's going to be a lot of modular elements. There will be some built-in features which we're going to lay out on part 2, which is a planning video, which is going to be a brief summary of what I want to do as far as the roads and the layout and how the basic structure of where the area terrain will most likely be laid out, where a town may go, and then draw that out onto the foam and start making some initial cuts for roads and things like that, and show you that feature. And then from there, part 3 will be adding sand and hills and some other things to get moving forward. A lot of the terrain features on this, like I said, are modular, and we're not going to be doing a lot of scratch building of trees and buildings. However, a lot of the things we're going to be doing are based on kits, but still there's a lot of instruction on what to do, because I just don't take a kit and build it and you know, like following plans. For example, some of the buildings I think I'm going to use initially, and a lot of this can be added in the future because it's a modular table. We can always do lots of different snow terrain and use this table as the base, and it just goes on top. But you know, products like this Warlord Games, they're hovels, and they're you know, the ones that come with a starter set, and they have a 3-pack, and you can buy them singly, and you build, basically it's rubble walls. And I mounted it on styrene and built the table, built the buildings up. There's a couple other products, and you can use balsa wood and stuff for the flooring, a lot of different other elements for this, and these will make up a good bit of the couple of the buildings that'll be snow covered in it. The other thing is I've already started making up some trees. These are mounted again on polystyrene. This is scrap that we've had. The fortunate thing is my store used to be a record store, so the CD backers for where people used to have the artist name for when you select the CDs. I have thousands of those laying around. So, you know, and getting scrap pieces like that from anywhere you can, sign makers, you know, anywhere is always good to build to your scratch building collection, so you can pull from and build. But this is basically some woodland scenic trees that we had. I'm going to leave them bare. They'll be covered with some snow. This will have some snow and some mud sort of scenic on it, and I'll show you how to do that and what colors we used to do it. I also plan to maybe even do a couple wire trees. Here were a few that we started. These I'm actually going to be using on a 15 millimeter table, but they're a little small for 28. You could use them, but I want to make some bigger trees. And that will be a couple of them for some specialty trees on the table. You know, we're going to stay with the standard snow flock. I'm also probably going to use, just because of covering a whole table, this gets expensive. I'm going to show you how to use some baking soda and cover some larger areas. And then finally, I ordered several of these from Bachman, these Scenescapes. These are pretty nice, you know, pre-built trees. Again, future videos, I want to show you how to actually make these, because they can be made pretty inexpensively, and they're not very complicated to make. It's just because of time with the book release coming up. I want to get this table out for my players so we can have fun during the Battle of the Bulge release. So join me soon. I'll have this video up, this part 2, as soon as possible. And you know, my time frame for this is to get this table done within a week. So I'm pretty aggressive on getting this complete. Thanks, guys, and stay tuned. And part 2 will be up shortly. Bye bye.